At some point, Jackie replied. I couldn't believe it. Jackie and I had just become friends, and now there was a chance he might move away. I was crushed, but I didn't want Jackie to see that. Sienna and I said goodbye, and I went home. The next day, I was sent to the principal's office because I bloodied a classmate's nose. I hadn't been in trouble since last spring. I could tell right away that Mrs. Wexler was very disappointed in me. What do you have to say for yourself? She asked me. Joel deserved it, I muttered, still angry about the fight. Stephen, no one deserves to get punched in the face, she told me. Did you two argue about something? Joel told me I'll bust your chops, so I beat him to it, I said defiantly. Last week he called me a chicken just because I said it was too cold to play football. Still, no reason to hit another person, Stephen. Mrs. Wexler reminded me, your mother wasn't home, so I've called your father. He's on his way to the office to get you. Oh, no, I said. You made my father leave work to come get me? That's correct, Mrs. Wexler said. This is a serious offense. A parent has to be notified. While you're waiting for your father, you can write a letter of apology to Joel. Does Joel have to write me an apology letter too? I'm meeting with Joel after lunch, Mrs. Wexler replied. An hour later, Dad marched into the office and snatched me up from my chair. We'll talk about your behavior at home, he growled. The walk home was brisk and silent. I could tell my father was furious with me, and especially for being called out of work. I thought you'd learn not to overreact, Steve, he yelled at me as soon as we stepped inside the house. Don't I have the right to defend myself? Not with your fists, Stephen. You mean I wouldn't have gotten into trouble if I'd called Joel a fathead or sissy? Don't talk back to me, Dad shouted. School is a place for study, not fighting of any kind. You are to be respectful to your teachers and your classmates. Do you understand me? What do I say if one of them disrespects me? Tell your teacher and let her handle the situation. And have the whole class laughing at me? No way, I said. Then be prepared to send the entire 4th grade on punishment. No stickball, no building model airplanes, no sledding. Is that what you want? I shook my head. No, I said quietly. Dad, I'm one of the shortest kids in my class. I've got to stand up for myself. Just got to, I said, sinking down to the floor in frustration. Dad pulled up a chair beside me. What's gotten into you? Your mother and I haven't had any trouble from you in a long time. Are you angry about something? I started to cry. Jackie's moving off Tilden Avenue, and I won't ever see him again, I said between sobs. Jackie was already away barnstorming, and I wouldn't see him for weeks. I couldn't imagine what it would be like when he was gone for good. Come here, son, Dad said, pulling my arm so I'd stand up. Dry up those tears. You've made a special friend with the Robinsons. They don't have to live next door for you to continue being friends. We'll have to stay in touch. You mean I can see the Robinsons even when they move away? That's right, Dad said. Plus, we'll go to Ebbets Field when the Dodgers are in town. You can write letters to the Robinsons, and I'll bet you can even visit. Dad paused. It won't be the same as having them as neighbors, but you'll always be friends. As you get older, son, you'll make lots more friends. That's the way it works. I hope so, I said, reaching over to hug my father. Promise me you'll settle back down at school? That's your job now. You can't afford to be pulled out of class for misbehaving, and I certainly can't afford to miss work. Is that clear? Yes, Dad, I replied. I'll finish my letter to Joel now. I'm going to tell him that name calling doesn't solve a problem. Maybe we can start being friends. A month later, I was outside playing football with some of the kids in the neighborhood when Jackie returned home from barnstorming. It was a warm, early November afternoon. My friends and I had taken over the block for our game. Jackie, I yelled as he stepped out of the cab. Jackie dropped his bags on the stoop and walked over to us. Hey, Steve, he said to me, then greeted the others. Glad you're back, I said. Me too, Jackie replied. Throw me a pass, Jackie, I pleaded. Just one, Steve, he agreed. I handed him the football and then turned to run down the street. When I reached a nice distance, I turned back around and skipped backward, waiting for Jackie to release the football. I lifted my arms to catch the ball, suddenly realizing that this was a ball spiraling in my direction, thrown by a professional athlete who'd played semi-pro football with the Honolulu Bears. Yikes. My heart pounded. My knees buckled, my hands began to sting, and the ball hadn't even reached them yet. Was I crazy? The ball came in so hard against my chest that it literally knocked me over. I hit the ground with a thump. The ball was still cradled between my hands and my chest. I lifted the ball high above my head and let out a roar.